Hello one and all, and welcome back to Digital Production Spring 2018 semester here in the DJD program. Welcome to week 4 in the class. We are in the midst of our examination of digital audio. So last week we talked about recording digital audio, and this week it is all about editing digital audio. And the primary tool that we use in the editing process is a program from Adobe called Audition. Audition is, of course, part of the Creative Cloud, and it is the tool, above all, that is used for audio editing, audio effects, manipulation, and enhancement. I want to bring Professor Campbell into the conversation here and address a few pressing questions. And then we're going to turn you loose on a really nice lineup of lessons that we recorded at an earlier point, but they really capture the essence of the
Well, this was about a year ago,
material.
right?
Exactly a year ago, give or take a day or two.
Yes.
When we were younger men, not quite as wise, not quite as seasoned, but
well,
still...
I don't know if I'm very wise.
You have been for a while, actually, come to think of it. You are becoming wiser, but there's been a concentration of wisdom, I would say, for some time.
Well, that's very nice.
Now,
so
you got a little bit of a different setup here, or no?
Yeah. Well, you mean with the microphones?
With the microphones, yes.
Well, yes. So I've see, I did a pop there. I shouldn't have done that. I did. You know, when sometimes you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
But I do notice it's something you have to be aware of. The breath or whatever it is. So yes, I have. I'm using a C stand, which is a type of stand that's in every film production, and basically you can put lights on it. You can, and there's gobos, and you can put that's got arms and things like that. So I've attached the VO microphone.
They're quite sturdy, aren't they?
Yes, they're very, very sturdy.
Hard to tip over.
Yeah. You can put anything on them: flags, this, that, lights, whatever you want. And so now it's hanging down, so it's off the. It's not touching the desk. It's not on the desk at all. So it's not receiving any vibration from the desk. But
so when you slam your fist on the desk.
Yeah. See.
In the midst of making a very important point.
If you have a stand, like a microphone, regular stand, then that's one of those round ones, then it picks up the vibration from the desk. So you want to have as little vibration as possible. Although I do wish I had a pop filter. I don't have a pop filter.
A pop filter being a sort of screen in front of the microphone.
To prevent plosives and puzz and things like these and things like that. And the pop filter also, I've learned, prevents moisture from gathering on the microphone. Yes.
So
I watched a very interesting, a very good lynda.com audio recording techniques video.
Pop filters are interesting. You can get a pop filter for what, $10, $12 off of Amazon?
Yeah. You can get some third-party ones for literally $10. Some of the nicer ones are about $25 to $30.
And basically you just hook on to your microphone and they cut down on plosives, wind noise coming from our mouths as we're recording.
Right, exactly.
And who knew about the moisture barrier?
I just learned that today, actually. So the moisture collects on the microphones.
Yeah.
And then I have another shot. This is just the backup of
using the backup as well.
I mean, there's 4 audio backups. There's probably too many audio backups.
Never again.
But I figure all the equipment's here, so I might as well use it. And it helps me to learn more stuff too. So this is probably overkill, but it looks cool. And that's not a very good reason to be using equipment.
Well,
so I should not. I take that back. That is not a good reason to use equipment just because it looks cool.
But I do think there's a lot of merit to your point of, well, I don't know if you made this point or not, but I want to make the point that every week I would say you're always fine-tuning things.
Well, yes.
You're making a few changes here and there.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very natural part of the process.
Yes.
Because constantly learning just these little tips and tricks here and there.
Right.
and making modifications, using the same equipment in different ways, swapping equipment around. And I really want everybody watching to be thinking about how they can apply this to their own work. Not everybody is going to have a studio that they can come into and do their recordings in, but we can fashion our own makeshift studios in different rooms in our homes and closets and what have you. And we can use our equipment in different ways. And I really think there's a lot of merit to the approach of being experimental and moving the variables around and seeing how it improves the sound over time.
Yeah, and because it is constant tweaking. And as you learn more things, you learn how to use the equipment more and more theory and things like that, and you apply it. And also learn, for example, for the VO mic, you want to have it at a certain angle or distance, and also the proximity effect. So, which is another interesting thing about directional microphones as opposed to omnidirectional microphones. So, in terms of how the distance, how close you get to the microphone, for directional microphones will pick up lower frequencies more. So there's a sweet spot for balance in terms of the picking up the widest range of frequencies, so you get the nice frequency response.
And is that a fixed value, or does it depend on the microphone?
Depends on the microphone. So omnidirectional microphones, it's supposedly not a problem, but for directional microphones, it is. It's kind of related to the inverse square law, which is how the light related to light. That essentially the distance, if you get really close. This is a cardioid. A figure 8 microphone here, but it just so there's a little thing I tweaking. So this is all tweak this from what I've learned yesterday, because you really have to keep learning.
Yeah.
If you stop learning, then in this business it's changes so radically. Technology, it's always changing.
Right.
And there's always something to learn, and if you don't keep learning, then you're out of a job.
And hence why we're all here. And there are other ways to learn as well. Lynda.com is a great resource that I know you tap into.
Yes, and it's free. It's free for students.
Free for students. Yeah, just to look at what's happening and seeing the techniques that are popular.
Netflix, HBO. I mean, the production value of shows is just skyrocketing. It's really incredible.
So we're talking about audio editing today.
Yes.
And before we set everyone loose and let them experience vintage Casey and Chris.
Vintage, yeah. Well, now this is probably,
Casey and Chris.
Yes, it's going to be not nearly as, it's not as bad as I would say the year 5 or 6 years ago. That was really bad. Right. That was horrible. And that was all my fault, completely my fault.
But we've come a long way. We're much more fashionable now.
I would say so, yes.
Yes. So, what I want to ask you though is why do we learn Audition when Premiere is pretty good about giving you ways of editing audio? You can import sound into Premiere, the video editing tool that we're going to use, and in fact, you can apply a number of audio effects in Premiere. So why do we have to spend time learning this whole other tool when we can get by with Premiere?
So, okay, so I'm looking at the time. It's 4:42. So what, about 10 minutes? No later than 10 minutes, right? No, what?
So I need a
4:50.
I need a succinct
So we got to
answer.
end by 4:50, right?
We're going to end within 5 minutes, yes.
Okay.
That's right, yes, because we are very important people with places to be, and there's hobnobbing potentially that needs to occur.
Yes, yes.
And we also want to give you a chance to immerse yourselves in the lessons.
Exactly. Well, so all right. So I'll try to keep this brief.
Because I'll have one other question for you.
Okay. All right. Well, the essential thing. Okay. Well, yes, you can do a lot of things in Premiere, and actually, when people are first learning audio, actually, I think it's I think it's important for people to focus first on Premiere and learn all that you can do, because actually it's quite extensive, the audio capabilities in Premiere, but there are certain things that you can't do in Premiere, which you can only do on Audition. But also it's more of a complete ecosystem, right? So generally you finish your film, your cut, and then you would link it or something like that to Audition, where you have like certain things that you can only do on Audition, like for example, there's you can check the loudness. For example, you can set the you can set loudness standards because there's a new loudness standards. There's loudness unit LU, LUFS, which is this whole way of looking at loudness, as opposed to the original, the old style, or the RMS value of looking at the average value, the average loudness. But there's this new way of looking at loudness, and you can only do that and look at that in Audition. It's not in Premiere. You can only set the loudness in that loudness units, it's called, in Audition.
So Audition gives you all the audio options that Premiere does, and
much more.
A whole bunch more.
And much more. And you have much more, it's a much more robust audio editing system. And it has filters that are just much more robust. There's a lot of filters that Premiere just doesn't have.
And I would add to that, I think you might have said that you would recommend learning audio in Premiere first and then audio in Audition. Now, that's not how we're going about it in this class, and maybe it's a philosophical difference in how to approach these tools. But my argument for learning Audition first, which is what we'll give a shot at here in digital production, is although you have more audio options, you don't have to deal with any of the video parts that you get in Premiere.
So if you're doing podcasting, then there's no point in, you wouldn't be learning. If all you were going to do is podcasting, and you would never ever want to do any video editing, then you would learn Audition.
There'd be no need for the additional tools that Premiere gives you.
And the great thing about Audition is it has multi-track sessions, so you have layers, you can do all these other kind of, ripple edits and everything like that, just like you can do in Premiere.
And so it makes it a little easier to just focus in on the audio and some critical audio concepts that we want to cover. So, for all those reasons, we're going to start with Audition and encourage you to explore the tool. We're going to spend a good deal of time getting into the nuances of Audition and really kind of ramp you up here on it. And of course, you will have ample opportunity to practice using Audition in the weeks to come here.
And I think that one other thing, real quick, is that I think that a lot of times the interface, the UI of Audition can be quite daunting to people. It's like opening up After Effects for the first time, or Maya, or one of these other programs. But in the reality, or looking at this mixer here with all these knobs and faders and things like that, but the reality is you're just duplicating the same thing with just multiple channels. It's all the same.
So once you learn how just a slice of the tool works, whether it's a mixer or Audition, you multiply that across all the different tracks, all the different channels, and you've got a pretty good understanding of what's going on. So that's a really good point. If you're feeling a little intimidated, it's understandable, it's natural, but don't worry, because we're going to give you the vocabulary and show you the interface in a way that I think is going to really hopefully make sense.
And some of the update to the new update, Audition 2018, has some really nice updates too, actually. Some very, very nice updates. Auto ducking. When you're using the effects, you can actually see the frequency response over the entire range frequencies. So it's actually has some really nice updates.
Excellent. All right, so on that note, we will turn you loose and let you take a look at Audition and learn this really cool program. The first of 3 that we're going to spend a lot of time with this semester, followed by Photoshop and Premiere.
So do I go to the outro? I have the outro animation.
We have an outro. Let's use the outro.
Okay, so let me do that, and then while I bring down the master fader, let me get this, see if I can do this at the same time. And cut.